Hi everybody, it's Karen from Scrappy Connect Studios and I'm here for May Arts Ribbon to share with you a little tutorial on creating these really pretty candy bar or chocolate bar sliders. Alright, so let's talk about the product that you're going to need to complete this particular project. So of course, if we're creating a candy bar or chocolate bar slider, we need a candy bar, or as we call them in Canada, chocolate bars. I love these Ritter Sport bars just because of the shape. They're easy to embellish and you've got lots of room to work on them, and the chocolate's awesome. But anything will do. I'm also going to use some of this 3/4 of an inch satin cutout ribbon in the hearts, and I'm keeping this kind of heart themed because Valentine's Day is coming up. This is one of my favorite new products, Velvet Adhesive Rick Rack. And then the ribbon that actually inspired the whole project was this 1.5 inch cross grain stripe ribbon. Love this color. It's got purple and red and pink and blue. It's really cute. Then of course you're going to need a good pair of scissors just to be able to cut your ribbon, a good dry adhesive. I'm going to use some score tape, a scoring tool, and some paper. This happens to be from DCWV, and then a scoring board is really helpful for this as well. So there you go. Let's get going on the project. Okay, now I wanted you to be able to use this tutorial regardless of the candy bar that you chose. So I'm going to show you how I figured out my measurements, and then you should be able to figure out your own accordingly. So grab a measuring tool. Start on the side where you want to create your seam. So I want to do it on this side here. So I'm going to take my measuring tool, and when I measured this, it was 1/2 inch. Then I went ahead and I measured across the front. That's 3 3/4, another 1/2 inch, 3 3/4, and then this is where I need an overlap piece. So I need another 1/2 inch on the side. Then all you do is you add up all of those measurements together. Mine add up to 9 inches. Then you need to measure this height here. That happens to be 4 inches. And then cut your piece of paper accordingly. So 4 inches by 9 inches for the Ritter Sport, all the way across kind of this way here, just by adding up those measurements that you created on your candy bar. Now I'm going to use those same measurements to create my score lines. So exactly how far I measured, that's where I want my score lines to be. So this first one was what, 1/2 inch. Now this next part was 3 1/4 inches. I need to add that onto my 1/2 inch. So I'm going to put my score line at 4.5 inches, sorry, 4 1/4 inches here. So I've got 1/2 inch, I'm adding it to 3 3/4, and I'm ending up at 4 1/4 inches right here. Now I need another 1/2 inch here on the side. So I was at 4 1/4 plus 1/2 inch is 4 3/4. So I'm going to score there. Now I need another 3 3/4 to get across the back. So that's going to take me way over here to my 8.5 inch mark. And then I've got this little piece left, which is my overlap piece. So another 1/2 inch over here to create my overlap. So I'm going to fold all of these up here. You can use your scoring tool to tighten up these edges as well if you'd like. There we go. And now pop your candy bar inside and make sure that your sleeve actually fits. You don't want it to be tight. You want the candy bar to actually be able to move up and down inside really easily. The ribbon will hold it in place, so don't worry about it being tight. Okay, so now we have to put the hole, punch the hole at the top. This is where our ribbon's going to go through. So what you want to do is figure out your midway point across this front edge. And for mine, it happens to be at the 1 3/8. And I just take my scoring tool, my scoring board. You can measure this with a ruler too if you want. I just have my scoring board here, so it works. And I just put a little mark for myself so I know where to punch. Now I line up my front and my back sides, and I'm just going to punch through both sides. Just make sure you line up your score lines so that you make sure that everything matches. Now, because I'm working with such a wide ribbon, this is 1.5 inch wide, I actually need to make my hole a little bit larger. So all I'm going to do is take my punching tool again, and I'm just going to create a second hole right beside, actually connected to, not just right beside, the one that I just created. And if you're still worried about the size, you can even do another one on the other side, just like that. Nobody will really see these holes once you're done anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So just take your dry adhesive now. I'm just going to take my score tape, and I want my seam to go to the back so that you don't see it on this front edge. So I'm going to put my tape on the back little tab here that I have and pull it off. And then you really want to take your time here in lining everything up, especially when you're using something really sticky like score tape. If you put it down, you're not going to be able to get it back up. So really line up the edge of your paper with the fold line of the back tab, just like this. Sorry, I'm just going to get my head into the shot here just so that I can make sure I've lined everything up. And then when you pop it open, you've got this nice little sleeve for your candy bar, just like that. Again, just make sure that it fits and that the candy bar moves easily up and down as you're working with it. Okay, now it's time to put in the ribbon. So we'll take that out. And you're just going to thread your ribbon through the holes that you created from the front to the back, just like this. Now it's a little bit difficult to tell at this point how much ribbon you're going to need, so I don't usually pre-cut the ribbon. I just pull it through and then I open up my pocket. And then basically what you're doing is creating a little sling here for your candy bar. It's this little piece of ribbon in the middle that's going to hold this candy bar in place. So you put your candy bar in and then you slide it all the way down, pushing the ribbon down with the candy bar. So you can see it's actually what suspends the candy bar inside of the sleeve so it doesn't fall out, which is pretty cool. Okay, so you need about, if you're going to tie a bow, especially with this nice, 1.5 inch ribbon, a good 6 inches on either side is a great place to start. So I'm going to give myself about, 5 to 6 inches on either side. And I always like to do a nice little V cut on the edge of my ribbon. And then we're just going to tie a nice little bow here at the top. So we'll just cross over the ribbons. And I just do a regular bow. I know there's all sorts of great fancy ways to tie bows, but I'm pretty traditional just with the way that I tie bows. And we'll just pull it through here, opening up my ribbon as I make kind of my loops. And then we'll just pull that one and that one. And then I'm just going to basically manhandle this bow a little bit until I get it in the place and direction and size that I really like, making sure that these loops are nice and not overlapping. There we go. I actually really like that. It's at a bit of an angle, but it seems to be working pretty well. So when you can see everything's nice and secure, and when I pull up on the bow, you can see that the candy bar just slides out, and the ribbon is what holds it in place. Nothing comes out until the recipient actually unties the bow, but they can actually see what's inside of it, which is a really cute effect to this particular little treat wrapper. Just like that. So now we're going to embellish it up and it'll be all set to go. Now the fun really comes in actually embellishing these little sleeves that you've created. The cool part is you can use the same technique, create a whole bunch of the sleeves, and then just embellish them a little bit differently to create a unique look. For this one, I just added a tag, a little handwritten tag, embellished it with some of the adhesive velvet rickrack, and then added one of the satin cutouts down here to the bottom, attaching it up here to the bow. Really easy. But if your paper has, some coordinating embellishments as well, that's a great way to make these all unique and pretty in their own right. So I hope that you have been inspired to create one of these little projects for someone that you love in your life, either for Valentine's Day or really any time of the year. Don't forget to come over and visit us at the May Arts blog, over on our Facebook page, Pinterest, pretty much anywhere social media is. And of course, go do some shopping as well. Thanks for stopping by.